Sometimes dogs ask for reassurance in ways that are so quiet that most people never notice them. There is no barking, no dramatic movement, no clear request, just a small pause in their behavior, a glance, a slow step closer, or the simple decision to remain nearby, even when nothing else is happening. To many people, these moments pass without meaning. But for dogs, they are part of a quiet language. One that speaks about trust, uncertainty, and the need to feel safe in the world around them. And when we learn to recognize these quiet signals, something subtle begins to change. We begin to see our dogs not just as companions, but as emotional beings constantly reading the atmosphere of our presence. Welcome back. Today we are exploring something many dog owners experience without realizing it: the quiet ways dogs ask for reassurance. Dogs live in a social world built on observation. They study movement, tone, posture, and emotional energy. Long before they respond with action, they look for signals that tell them the environment is safe. And sometimes, in moments of uncertainty, curiosity, or simple emotional connection, they reach out in small and almost invisible ways. These are not dramatic requests. They are quiet checks, small emotional questions directed toward the human they trust most. The glance that seeks an answer. One of the most common ways dogs ask for reassurance is through eye contact. Not the intense stare of excitement or play, but a brief, gentle look. A dog might pause during an activity, turn their head slightly, and look toward their human for just a moment. Then they look away. To someone unfamiliar with dog behavior, this may seem meaningless, but this glance often serves a quiet purpose. The dog is checking. They are reading the emotional tone of the person they trust. Is everything calm? Is the situation safe? Should they continue what they were doing? Dogs have evolved alongside humans for thousands of years, learning to read our expressions with remarkable accuracy. And in moments like this, that glance becomes a question asked without words. Choosing to stay close. Sometimes reassurance is not requested through action at all. Instead, it appears in a dog's choice of space. Imagine a dog entering a room with many comfortable places to rest. A soft bed in one corner, a cool floor near the window, a quiet place away from movement. And yet, the dog walks across the room and lies down beside their human, not touching, not asking for attention, simply staying near. To the dog, this distance matters. It is close enough to feel the calm presence of someone they trust. This behavior often reflects emotional security, but it can also be a quiet way of maintaining reassurance. Being nearby allows the dog to monitor the emotional rhythm of the environment. They know that if something changes, they will feel it immediately. The slow approach. Another subtle signal appears when dogs approach slowly, not with excitement or urgency, but with measured, thoughtful steps. A dog may walk toward their human and pause halfway. Their body language is relaxed but attentive. They may lower their head slightly or soften their eyes. In these moments, the dog is not necessarily asking for touch. They are simply checking the connection between them. Often, a calm voice, gentle movement, or relaxed posture from the human is enough. Reassurance does not always require physical contact. Sometimes it is simply the confirmation that the emotional environment remains steady and safe. Quiet body language. Dogs also ask for reassurance through small physical gestures. A gentle lean against a leg, a brief touch with their nose, resting their head near their human's foot. These actions are easy to overlook because they appear casual, but they often carry emotional meaning. Dogs are tactile animals. Physical proximity helps regulate their sense of safety. When they initiate these quiet touches, they are not always seeking affection. Sometimes they are grounding themselves in the presence of someone they trust. It is their way of saying, "I just need to know you're here." When dogs feel uncertain, moments of reassurance become more visible during mild uncertainty. A new sound outside the home, an unfamiliar object in the room, a change in routine. In these moments, many dogs briefly look toward their human before deciding how to respond. This behavior is known in behavioral science as social referencing. Dogs observe human reactions to understand how they should interpret a situation. If the human remains calm and relaxed, the dog often relaxes as well. But if the human reacts with tension or alarm, the dog may become cautious. In this way, reassurance is not always something dogs ask for directly. Sometimes they simply watch us, and our response becomes the answer. The importance of quiet responses. When a dog seeks reassurance, our response does not need to be dramatic. In fact, calm responses are often the most helpful. Soft movements, relaxed posture, a steady voice. Dogs are incredibly sensitive to emotional tone. They do not only hear our words, they observe our breathing, our posture, and the rhythm of our actions. When we respond with quiet stability, dogs receive the message they were hoping for. The environment is safe. Nothing is wrong. And their trust in the relationship deepens a little further. How dogs read our reactions. What happens in the moments after reassurance is often just as important as the reassurance itself. Dogs continue watching, not in an anxious way, but in a quiet, observational manner that is deeply rooted in their social nature. In canine groups, stability is maintained by carefully reading the reactions of others. A sudden shift in posture, a sharp movement, or a change in voice can alter the meaning of a moment. This is why consistency matters so much. When our body language remains calm and predictable, dogs are able to settle their own emotions more easily. Their breathing slows, their muscles soften. The brief uncertainty that brought them to us begins to fade. Over time, these repeated experiences form a kind of emotional memory. The dog learns that when something feels unclear or unsettling, approaching their human leads to calm rather than chaos. And in that quiet pattern, seek, observe, settle. The bond between human and dog becomes stronger, not through grand gestures, but through reliable emotional steadiness. Ask for reassurance. Reassurance, for dogs, is rarely loud. It lives in small moments. A glance across the room, a quiet step closer, the simple decision to rest nearby. These behaviors remind us that dogs are constantly listening to the emotional atmosphere around them. And sometimes, without saying anything at all, they ask a simple question: is everything still okay? When we recognize these quiet signals, we begin to understand our dogs on a deeper level. Because reassurance is not always something we give. Sometimes it is something we share through calm presence. And in those quiet moments, the bond between human and dog becomes a little stronger. If you enjoy exploring the quiet emotional world of dogs, consider subscribing to the channel. Each episode looks beyond obvious behavior and into the deeper psychology of how dogs experience life with humans. And often, the smallest signals reveal the most meaningful parts of that relationship.